So there are times when consciousness seems to evolve and then it regresses. That is part of a universal pattern. Now, you may want to guess what period we live in right now. Because humanity is not a finished product. It's a work in progress. That's the good news. If the humanity were not a work in progress, that would be terrible. That means the collective consciousness as it is now would not evolve anymore. And all the dysfunction that is built into the collective consciousness, but also, of course, into each individual consciousness. All that dysfunction would be part of human nature. That will never change. That would be terrible. But there is, if you look at the history of the planet, the history of life on the planet, going back millions of years, there's no doubt that there is a gradual evolution of consciousness that enables the life forms on this planet to gradually become more complex, gradually become more conscious. There's this evolution of life on the planet, and there's an evolution of human consciousness. But it's not an upward path. There are many instances when there is a regressive movement in the evolution of human consciousness. So it doesn't go more and more conscious every 100 years, bit more conscious. No, unfortunately not. It goes up. And then there's a regressive movement. Ooh. You can observe that even on an individual level, perhaps in your life, looking back on the past when you were not as conscious as you are now, that there were periods in your life when you became particularly unconscious, triggered perhaps by a challenge that arose. Breakup of your marriage, as an example. Really? Or big loss of all your investments, if you had any, or loss of home, big challenge, and they drew you into unconscious reactivity. You became either despondent or angry or upset or shouting and screaming either out aloud or in your head, and you made your life and people's life around you extremely unpleasant. So there are periods when humans go through a regressive period, and the totality of human consciousness and nations also do that. So there are times when consciousness seems to evolve and then it regresses. That is part of a universal pattern. Now, you may want to guess what period we live in right now. I don't know much French, unfortunately, otherwise I would be speaking French, but a phrase has just come into my mind from the recesses of wherever these things are stored, probably not in the head, but in the cloud somewhere. There's a French expression, I think it goes reculer pour mieux sauter. You step back in order to jump better. Thank you. So these regressive movements are actually not only an inevitable part of the evolution of consciousness, but a necessary part of the evolution of consciousness. And there's a little secret that not many people know, and I'll tell it to you now in case you have to leave early. Then at least you can take that home with you. And that is that the very thing that seems to block the evolution of your consciousness is that which empowers the evolution of consciousness. The hindrance, the obstacle, is necessary for consciousness to grow. Consciousness needs to come up against something. It hits something, a bad life situation, a challenge. But it applies to all life forms. Often when a gardener puts his seeds in the soil, the seed sprouts, and quite often gardeners put more soil on top of the sprouting seed in order to strengthen the plant. The plant is strengthened because it encounters an obstacle. So when any life form encounters an obstacle, suddenly there is a gap. There's not enough influx of enough energy, we could call energy, but really, as I see it, there's only one energy that manifests in different vibrational frequencies. And so even the energy that flows into the plant is a certain vibrational frequency, and that energy is consciousness. The entire universe is a manifestation of consciousness. Consciousness is the invisible field that underlies everything, that you can sense will be going in there. You can sense it within yourself. You can sense, once you can sense that underlying field within yourself, you can also sense it outside of you. So there's a consciousness at different vibrational frequencies. The plant, if a plant that grows in a greenhouse where it's totally protected will be quite weak, will not develop the strength because it's not needed. It only comes when it's needed. So many of you would not be here if you had not gone through a certain amount of challenges in your life.